Hello and welcome to Reimagining Cyber, the podcast that explores the people, tech and challenges shaping cybersecurity. I'm Ben, and in today's episode, we're going to dive into a question that is on everyone's mind. Are we living in an AI cybersecurity bubble? Is AI solving security problems, or is it just creating new ones? Is the tech overhyped, under-delivering, or are we just not using it right yet? Joining me to break this all down is Tyler Moffitt. He's our in-house threat intel lead. Tyler, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ben. Definitely excited for this one. You know, AI and cybersecurity, definitely reminiscent of like blockchain 2017 when I was first getting into it. Everyone wants in, but not many people really know what's it actually does or what's going on.
Let's kick off then. At risk of patronizing people, let's start with the basics. Why has AI suddenly become the buzzword in cybersecurity?
Well, I mean, AI has become the buzzword in anything tech world, really, to be honest. But the biggest, two reasons, right? Launch of ChatGPT created like mass awareness of, large language models. And then everybody came forward, like after ChatGPT with their version and what their uses are. And honestly, more and more people are using it now, which is great and it's important. But that's one of the main reasons. And the next one is like, because of that, CISOs are now under pressure to, and this is a very popular phrasing, do more with less, right? So automation and machine learning basically just look like magic bullets. Security vendors, they've taken notice, seen this, and basically just slap AI or AI powered on like everything, every slide deck. Some genuinely improve detection and response. Others, I won't lie, just feels like AI washing, if that makes sense.
So it's that kind of mix of promise and marketing fluff.
Yeah, basically. And, but the market has responded though. I mean, this is money talks, right? And so venture capitalist funding in AI startups hit over 2.5 billion last year alone. And I kind of anticipate to see more than that when we finish out this year. Obviously, we're only halfway through this year, but that's a lot of money.
In the interest of balance, let's be fair, where is AI actually genuinely making a difference right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. We got to cover that. So few standout areas. Behavioral anomaly detection. So spotting unusual account activity. So AI models, they're trained to recognize normal user and system behavior patterns and then flag deviations in real time. So for example, I guess if an employee who always logs in from New York suddenly accesses sensitive files from a new device in Singapore at 3 a.m., AI-driven anomaly detections can like catch and escalate that event faster than like traditional based ones, right? Rules-based. And so this is especially valuable for detecting like insider threats or compromised credentials, lateral movement early, which is very important in a lot of the attack schemes that are pulled off by criminals. Next would be threat intel enrichment. So summarizing data across feeds quickly. So security teams are like basically drowning in threat intelligence. The telemetry overload is crazy, blogs, feeds, IOCs, vendor alerts, you name it, LLMs can basically rapidly read, summarize, correlate, organize all this information to produce those actionable insights. Instead of, analysts like myself spending hours sifting through reports and data, right? AI tools can provide concise threat summaries, highlight relevant tactics from the MITRE and attack framework, and even recommend immediate next steps. All within minutes. We've seen ChatGPT. It's great. Next would be spear phishing detection, right? LLMs flagging nuanced language cues. Phishing has evolved beyond broken grammar and obvious red flags. That's all gone. We all know that's over and done with, right? Everybody can use ChatGPT to create good phishing lures, and so sophisticated spear phishing emails, they use the proper tone, company jargon, personalization, you name it. And so the AI models, particularly those fine-tuned on the language misuse patterns, can sort of analyze the subtle signals in email content like unusual phrasing or tone shifts or impersonation attempts. So there's still flags, but AI can help detect that, if that makes sense. And these helps block well crafted business email compromise attempts but before they hit the inboxes. And then lastly, SOC automation, so reducing alert fatigue through smart triage. So security operations centers are often overwhelmed by false positives and alert volume. AI can help by clustering related alerts, prioritizing based on, historical data, and risk scoring, and even suggesting likely clauses or playbooks for analysts to follow. Some platforms they use natural language summaries so junior analysts can understand, the complex threat paths without needing years of experience. But ultimately, the result is like, faster triage, fewer missed alerts, and better incident response. But the bottom line with all this is, the best outcomes we're seeing aren't from fully autonomous systems. Okay. They're from co-pilot style tools that boost analyst efficiency and confidence. So AI is not going to be replacing. The best results you're going to get is AI powered human analysts, right? Becomes a force multiplier when it's integrated with, the skilled human judgment.
Making humans faster and sharper, in other words.
Absolutely. You got it. Some companies are doing this right. But they're honestly usually the quiet ones, right? The loudest vendors, sometimes you feel, they're just doing like log correlation with a new label slapped on or something.
Let's then get into the uncomfortable part. Where is AI under delivering?
Lots of places for sure. Start off with false positives that still overwhelm like level one analysts. Even with, advanced AI models, many systems still flag too much noise, especially inside, large complex environments. Level one analysts might face hundreds of alerts per day, most of which kind of like wild goose chase lead nowhere. AI-driven detection engines often lack the necessary context to distinguish between a genuine threat and a legitimate anomaly. This kind of leads to like alert fatigue, right? Slower response and burnout. Real threats sort of get buried in the clutter, if you will. And I've heard of some orgs disable AI alerts just to reduce ticket load, which, that defeats the purpose entirely. Model drift is another one. That happens in fast dynamic attack environments. So AI models trained on last year's threat data can quickly become outdated, right? Attackers constantly changing tactics, constant cat and mouse game. AI has only made that like rapidly more evolving, especially with like living off the land techniques or, law bins, and, newly emerging malware strains. So if the model isn't retrained or fine-tuned frequently, it starts to miss patterns, right? Or, worse, misclassify new threats as benign. Especially problematic in, fast-paced sectors like finance or healthcare, where we see a lot of focus, if that makes sense, from the cyber criminals. Also, context-aware response. It's another thing. We're not there yet. The promise of AI making real-time decisions, like automatically isolating a host or blocking a user, that sounds amazing, but we're not there, right? Most tools don't fully understand, like I said, the context. Okay. I guess an example: service account is critical for payroll. Is it, a user running a scheduled task, without human oversight? An automated response can cause outages or disrupt legitimate, working workflows. So that's why most orgs still require human review before actually taking that action. Like AI can tell you what happened, but not like why it matters to your business. That's a big gap, and we still need humans for that. Next would be, and lastly, a deep packet inspection with AI. It sounds good, but it really doesn't work in practice. So vendors often claim their AI can analyze encrypted traffic or parse massive packet flows to spot threats in motion, but at scale, DPI is deep packet, inspection is resource intensive. Slows down performance, delivers mixed results, and it's usually applied in a limited fashion, like spotting, malware callbacks rather than, full real-time behavioral analysis. And if traffic is encrypted end to end, magic can't, AI can't magically decrypt it, if that makes sense. So unless you're terminating TLS at an appliance level, the AI just isn't seeing the juicy parts anyway. So these limitations don't mean AI isn't useful. We got to be realistic. Security leaders need to separate marketing promises from actual product capability and maturity. The danger isn't that AI doesn't work. It's that we expect too much from tools that aren't ready for their prime time. It's coming. It totally is coming, but you got to be realistic with what it can do right now.
So, as you said, we've got expectations outpacing results.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the black box problem that AI systems that make decisions no one can explain are an absolute trust killer in security. So I think security is definitely one to watch out for on just handing off the reins to the robots.
Let's talk about the bubble itself then. What are the signs that we're in one?
That's a great question. So just empirically, bubble indicators, usually overvaluation of yet unproven tech, and then marketing eclipsing capability, and then like bandwagon investment, like the Me Too startups, and then layoffs despite growth hype. So some AI startups are spending more on branding than actual research and development. We're seeing vendor consolidation as CISOs tire of tools that, overpromise and underdeliver.
So it sounds like a bit of a shakeout is coming then.
Yeah, it's kind of already started, and we've sort of already seen it. The survivors will be those that actually reduce risk, not just generate dashboards for sure.
And what are the dangers, would you say, if organizations put too much faith in AI tools?
It's a great question. Everybody should think about it because, over reliance usually leads to, analysts de-skilling. They're not learning as much as they could. Blind spots in detection logic and failure to investigate edge cases. Worst case, you could miss a breach because the AI didn't flag it and you threw, all your eggs in that basket.
Okay, the path forward then. Smart AI use. What is the right approach for security leaders, do you think?
Yeah, three things. Definitely audit the AI tools you use. Ask how the models were trained, how old the models are, how long they've been working on them. Focus on augmentation, not automation, right? Keep the humans in the loop at every decision point. And, remember, detection is just one layer. Good cyber hygiene, segmentation, multi-factor authentication, user training, like all that stuff still matters. Patching is massive, backdoors, like all that. Eating your cybersecurity vegetables is like the biggest thing you can still do.
So keeping those basics, but with smarter tooling.
Yeah, exactly. And ideally, AI is going to become like a GPS, right? It'll help you get there faster, but you're still driving the car.
So, Tyler, we're reaching the end of the episode now. What are your closing thoughts? Sum this up for me, if you would.
So AI, obviously, groundbreaking paradigm shift. It's going to become this amazing, fantastical thing we all think it is. It's super powerful, but it's not a silver bullet right now. Okay. If we hype it too much, we'll set ourselves up for like disappointment and missed threats. But, if used correctly, it can really absolutely transform how we defend.
Tyler, thank you so much. Fantastic as always.
Thanks, Ben. Looking forward to see, how this space matures and hopefully with fewer buzzwords.
Tyler's going to be back with us in a couple of weeks' time talking about generative AI in the hands of cyber criminals. We're going to focus on what's changed in the last 12 months to make this such a threat. Rob Arago will be with us next week. So to make sure you don't miss any episodes of Reimagining Cyber, you know what to do. Just hit that follow or subscribe button. And if you're feeling super friendly, why not share the podcast with other cybersecurity minded folk? Goodbye.